must state that for safety, honesty and cautious reasons, the information in this video was gathered through research on the internet. I am not telling you to do anything in particular. Your choices are of your own volition. Seek medical advice for further knowledge. What is the corpus callosum and its function within the brain? The corpus callosum is the largest white matter structure in the brain, consisting of a thick bundle of over 200 million nerve fibres, axons, connecting the left and right cerebral hemispheres. Located in the centre of the brain, it facilitates inter-hemispheric communication, coordinating sensory, motor and cognitive functions. Key aspects of the corpus callosum: location and structure. Situated between the two hemispheres, it is a C-shaped band divided into 4 parts, these being the rostrum, the genu, body and splenium. Functions: it allows for the sending of information, essential for language processing, memory and coordinating movements on both sides of the body. Usage and role examples: coordinating movement, enables the smooth, synchronised movement of both hands while playing a musical instrument or typing. Visual integration, merges visual information from both eyes to create a single unified image. Cognitive processing, facilitates problem solving by linking language centres, this usually being on the left side, and then spatial awareness usually being on the right side. Related terms, often referred to as commissural fibres or part of the white matter tracts. Ailments and disorders. Genesis of the corpus callosum or injuries can cause developmental delays or communication issues between brain hemispheres. Genesis of the corpus callosum means missing or malformed. Visual representation. Images typically show a C-shaped white structure in the medial view, this being the cross-section of the brain, connecting the cerebral hemispheres, often highlighted within the longitudinal fissure, says Cleveland Clinic. What happens if there is damage to the corpus callosum? Injury to the corpus callosum results in the following. Now some of these words are a bit tricky. Left intentional movement apraxia, agraphia, left tactile anomic, dyslexia, alien hand syndrome, impaired left visual recognition, and left auditory hearing loss, collectively known as corpus callosum syndrome. This is a rare condition. Do you need a corpus callosum? The corpus callosum coordinates signals between the hemispheres and helps us integrate and synthesize information in a complete way. Agenesis of the corpus callosum is a condition in which the structure is either partially or completely missing. What happens when your corpus callosum is missing? When this bridge is missing or incomplete, it can lead to a range of signs or signals, from mild learning difficulties to more significant developmental delays and seizures. It's estimated that 30 to 45% of individuals without a corpus callosum have an underlying genetic cause for their condition. Can you repair a damaged corpus callosum? While damage to the corpus callosum is rare, it can cause a variety of signs or signals that may affect cognitive, emotional and/or physical abilities. With the help of rehabilitative treatment sessions, individuals may be able to overcome the effects of corpus callosum damage and regain function. Could someone survive without a corpus callosum and live a normal life with agenesis? Yes, this is possible, but what's normal for you may be different from what someone else might consider normal. What is another name for the corpus callosum? The corpus callosum, also colossal commissure, is a wide, thick nerve tract consisting of a flat bundle of commissural fibres beneath the cerebral cortex in the brain. Corpus callosum, Latin for tough body. How does aging affect the corpus callosum? The volume and integrity of the corpus callosum is reduced in normal aging. The atrophy of the corpus callosum is associated with functional impairments. Selective treatments and interventions may slow down the atrophy and preserve quality of life. What are 5 signs your brain is in trouble? 5 common signs your brain might be in trouble include memory and concentration issues, language difficulties, being finding words, trouble with planning and problem solving, along with noticeable mood or personality changes, and problems with orientation or balance, though these can stem from various conditions like dementia, traumatic brain injury, or other neurological issues, so professional medical advice is crucial. Common signs and what they mean: memory problems and brain fog, forgetting recent events, names, or getting lost in familiar places, or generally feeling a cognitive haze, or hazy, as they say sometimes. Language difficulties, struggling to find the right words, follow conversations, or express thoughts clearly, this being aphasia. Cognitive and executive function issues, trouble with planning, complex decision making, judgment, or managing daily tasks. Mood and personality shifts, becoming more irritable, anxious, depressed or withdrawn, or experiencing significant changes in behaviour. Motor and balance problems, this being dizziness, uncoordinated movements, tremors, or difficulty with balance and coordination. When to see a GP or health professional. These signs can signal anything from normal aging to dementia, traumatic brain injury, or other serious neurological conditions. If you experience sudden, severe signs or signals like intense headaches or confusion, seek immediate medical help. Synonyms and related terms: cognitive decline, general decrease in overall cognitive abilities. Neurological signs, this being issues or glitches within the nervous system. Dementia signs and signals, memory loss, confusion, personality changes. Brain fog, cognitive confusion, the lack of clarity and clear thinking. Processing speed, slow down, taking longer to think or react, reflexes not so sharp as they have been or were before you saw a noticeable change in reaction times. What are the signs that your brain is healing? Emotional healing doesn't always shout, it whispers in subtle yet powerful ways. You may notice more emotional stability, fewer flashbacks, and better sleep. You start responding to situations accordingly, rather than reacting immediately without thought, strategy, or regulation of actions. How to test your corpus callosum. There is a clear correlation between the thickness of the corpus callosum and the slowness in clapping hands. Clapping can be used as a new bedside test to determine the competency of the corpus callosum. This is the multiple sclerosis corpus callosum, the clapping bedside test. The aim of this is to evaluate clapping as a bedside test to determine the competency of the corpus callosum in multiple sclerosis. Methods. The study research started on the 1st of the 9th, 2016. 70 consecutive persons with MS attending clinics and home visits underwent the clapping test. The speed was compared between rapid supination, pronation of left and right hands separately, and then clapping, supination, pronation of each hand alternately. They had to clap as fast as they could once the test had started. Noticeable slowing of clapping compared with single hand supination, pronation was taken as a positive sign. Out of 70 people, 31 of those were excluded. 2 people were difficult to make conclusions about, and 3 people showed definite slowing down in clapping compared with supination and pronation of hands, this being a positive sign. The average thickness of the corpus callosum in the 3 people showing positive signs was 2.1 millimeter. Then, for the 3 MS duration matched persons who did not show positive signs, it was 3.8 millimeter. The conclusions were: there is a clear correlation between the thickness of the corpus callosum and the slowness in clapping hands. So, as the research results showed, clapping can be used as a new bedside test to determine the competency of the corpus callosum. He also showed in that last segment of the video the thickness of the corpus callosum compared with the results found. Clapping can also be used as an exercise to improve the competency of the corpus callosum. Explanation, pronation and supination. Pronation and supination describe the rotation of the forearm being palm down versus palm up, or the inward, outward rolling of the foot during movement. These natural motions are essential. The function pronation provides shock absorption, while supination offers stability. Excessive motion, this being overpronation or over-supination. This can lead to injury. Forearm and hand movements. Pronation. Rotation of the forearm that moves the palm from an upward facing position to face downwards or backwards. Supination. This is the rotation of the forearm that turns the palm upward or forwards. Key anatomy. The movement primarily involves the radius rotating around the ulna at the distal and proximal radio-ulnar joints. Memory aid. Supination is like holding a bowl of soup. Pronation is the opposite. Common uses and exercises. Daily activities. Turning a door handle. Using a screwdriver or typing requires these motions. Exercises. Seated forearm rotations with a light weight, holding a spoon with soup or twisting a towel. Rehabilitation exercises. Forearm rotation with a bent elbow resting on a table. Rotate a dumbbell or hammer in your hand, moving the palm from facing up to facing down to improve mobility and strength. These exercises are often performed with the elbow bent at 90 degrees and the forearm supported. Foot and ankle movements, this being gait cycle. Pronation, the natural inward roll of the foot as the outside of the heel strikes the ground, crucial for shock absorption. Supination, the natural outward roll of the foot which occurs during the push-off phase to create a rigid lever for propelling the body forward. Overpronation, the foot rolls inward too much, often causing flattening of the arch and strain on knees and hips. Over-supination. This is under-pronation. Foot does not roll inwards enough, placing excess stress on the outer edge of the foot and the ankle. Addressing foot issues. Orthotics. Supportive shoes or strengthening the tibialis posterior muscle can correct excessive motion. 3 warning signs of multiple sclerosis include numbness or tingling sensations, vision problems like blurred vision or optic neuritis, overwhelming tiredness and fatigue. MS signs and signals vary and also often present themselves as balance issues, muscle weakness, or cognitive difficulties like brain fog. A more detailed explanation: numbness or tingling, often described as pins and needles, electric shock sensations, or crawling feelings, typically in the limbs or face. Vision problems: sudden blurry vision, double vision, pain with eye movements, or temporary partial vision loss in one eye are common. Vision loss in one eye is optic neuritis. Fatigue: profound cognitive and physical exhaustion that isn't relieved by rest, significantly impacting daily life, is a hallmark sign and signal. Every time I see the word fatigue, it brings me back to when I was going to initially start a workout bootcamp business on the south coast. I was going to name it fatigue workout, as in being army fatigue, you know, the army get up that we wear. But when I started doing the flyers and I started handing them out to a couple of people initially, they associated the word fatigue as being tired, being fatigued, overly tired, which did make sense. When I first initially thought of the title fatigue workout, that didn't really spring to mind. Reason being, I'd been in the forces, so I straight away connected that with what we would wear. But I realised people seeing that word as being tired, fatigued. So when I said it to somebody that says fatigue workout, tired workout, then I thought, well, alright then, I'm going to need a different name because people are not going to get it straight away and I'll have to keep explaining. Even though they're stood there looking at someone wearing army fatigues. You see, look at the irony in that. Why would I have to explain if I'm wearing fatigues? Right, so then I've moved over to still wanting to start a boot camp or PT kind of business. Just a little small one, because it's only me that would have been working it anyway. So, but yeah, I still had that in mind. Got my first few PT clients. Everything was running fine. We had a very good vibe throughout the workouts. Yeah, and obviously it's a get fit thing. I love staying in shape, and while I'm working out, it's always a good vibes. Even when I'm hitting the punching bag, I try to keep a good vibe. It's always music orientated. I've always, whatever I do, if you was to watch me carefully, most things I do, I keep a rhythm. Yeah. So let's say I'm at work and I'm moving the plastic colanders or the sleeves where the parcels come in. I'll stack them up and then I'll put them into the carry box. But when I'm doing it, there's always a rhythm. So you hear clunk, clunk, clunk. I always keep a rhythm. Even when I'm picking up the pallets, it's a rhythm. Yeah. Most of the things I do, I keep up rhythm. It's just what I do. You know what I mean? And it's good vibes. Put that with music. I'm doing Get Fit. Good vibes. There you go. There you have it. Yeah, it was as easy as that. It's not rocket science, but it sits well. And I quite like the name Get Fit, Good Vibes. Got a nice ring to it. Now, before I move on to the next point, real quick, where the PT on call 24/7 came from. Because I'm doing videos online with all the different social media sites, it's basically there 24/7, is it? So, PT on call 24/7. It was as easy as that. But I remember going to a TV studio, right, not far from the lanes, in fact, not far from the Sea Life Centre. And the guy that was running it, he heard the name Get Fit Good Vibes and PT on Call 24/7. And for some reason, I don't know why, he was trying to get me to change the name or swap it out, being PT on Call 24/7. For him, it didn't sit right. And he was trying to get me to change it all. Get Fit Good Vibes, that was all right. That was in the correct place. But PT on Call 24/7, for some reason, I don't know why, this guy, right, who was running the TV studios and had us there for a rehearsal type thing and a selection phase for the TV show that I was meant to be doing. I forget the name of it. I'm going to have to dig that out at some point. At some point, I'll come back and let you know what the name of that show was. Right. But he wanted me to change the name. He kept saying, change the name, change the name, change the name. Why am I changing the name? Because you've said to change the name. I've had a think about it, and it all sits correct. My videos are online 24/7. It's workouts, PT, yeah? PT on call 24/7. Personal trainer on call 24/7. If you want to go online, you can watch the videos 24/7. You want to give me a call, you can give me a call, but there'll be hours. But he was adamant it didn't sit right. They wanted me to change it. It's kind of iffy, that, to be honest. Yeah, it did make me think. And you know, after all that rigmarole, nothing did come of that show. But they did get all our ideas though. They had us waiting for months. Had us go to the studio about 2-3 times. No, in fact, 1 or 2. Yeah, about 2-3 times we went to that studio. All sat there waiting for our time to have a rehearsal. Right. It sounded really promising as well, you know. But all they've done, took our ideas, right, and 2-3 months down the line, said nothing was going to happen. This was a big thing, you know, right, for the group of people that were trying to get onto this show. They made a big palaver about it. Where did I find the application? I found the application for this show, right, on a site called Star Now. Now, what happens is, yeah, you pay a little subscription each month to this site. And on this site, it's got modelling contracts, advert contracts, loads of different stuff you can apply to go to on there. That was the actual site where I found the modelling thing that I went to London with, right? And they messed about. They took my photos or whatever. I paid a bit of money. Then after a while, a few weeks later, when nothing was happening, and I started to look into it real deep, I found that it was a blag. But that's where I got that connection for that show that was in Brighton. It was on Star Now. But we've turned up. They've asked us a load of questions. They've taken a load of people's ideas. They've kept us sat there for weeks on end, probably even a couple of months. And then after a while, after chasing them up, they says, oh, nothing's going to come of it. We can't get the funding for the show and we're not going to use it. Well, okay, you says that. So where's my ideas going? Where's everyone else's ideas going? Why was you telling me to change the name of my thing, right, when you haven't even got funding for your show? You've given us a blag. You've fobbed us off months later. But prior to all this, you're telling me to change the name of my thing. For me, that don't make no sense. You see how they roll? This is how these lot move. Anyway, moving forwards, after that little insight to how things really pop off out here. Yeah, let's go. Let's move on to the next pointer. Get my thing rolling. Sure. Balance and coordination issues. This being dizziness, vertigo, and clumsiness. Other signals to consider: muscle weakness and spasms. This will be stiffness, cramps or weakness. Cognitive changes: difficulty with memory, focus or processing information. This will be brain fog. Bladder and bowel dysfunction, urgency, frequency or retention issues. These early signs can be vague, but persistence or reappearance of these signs and signals may call for a visit to a qualified GP, especially if they show up in clusters. So a word that popped up in this recent detour is orthotics. So I'm going to give you a quick explanation on orthotics before I carry on. What are orthotics? This is the branch of medicine that deals with the provision and use of artificial tools such as splints and braces. What does orthotics do? Orthotics are wearable medical tools, typically shoe insoles, braces or splints, designed to support, align or improve the function of the feet and lower extremities. They manage pain from conditions like plantar fasciitis, reduce structural stress and correct abnormal walking patterns, this being gait. Key functions and benefits of orthotics: support and alignment. They support the foot's arch and align the foot and ankle, which can improve overall body posture and reduce strain on knees, hips and the back. Pain reduction. They alleviate pain caused by flat feet, high arches, bunions, corns, calluses and heel pain. Improved function. They help make walking, running and standing more efficient, comfortable and safe. Pressure distribution. The redistribution of body weight across the foot to alleviate high pressure areas. Injury prevention and recovery. They provide support following injuries like sprained ankles and can prevent further damage to feet, particularly for diabetics. Types of orthotics. We'll start with custom-made orthotics. These are tailored specifically to your foot, using precise measurements of your gait and your body structure. Off-the-shelf orthotics, or OTC insoles. Ready to wear, providing temporary cushioning and support, but they may wear out faster. Orthotics are generally considered a conservative, non-surgical treatment to improve mobility and reduce discomfort. What is an example of an orthotic? A foot pad or heel insert purchased at your local pharmacy or sporting goods store. Custom moulded, individually designed shoe insert or ankle brace. What are the negatives of orthotics? The problem with orthotics. Any orthotic, be it a heel lift or arch support, can alter the biomechanics of your lower body. While this can provide temporary relief from pain, it also shifts the burden away from your foot's natural support structures, leading to muscle weakness. Back to the main video after that detour. What is the corpus callosum and its function within the brain? We're now talking about the fibres within the corpus callosum. These fibres link corresponding regions of the left and right cerebral hemispheres, enabling fast inter-hemispheric communication, integration of sensory motor and cognitive functions. Key fibre bundles and structures. We'll start with forceps minor. Fibres curving forward from the genu to connect the frontal lobes. Forceps minor, this will be in an anterior position at the front. Forceps major, this being in a posterior position at the back. Fibres curving backwards from the splenium into the occipital lobes. Moving on to the body and trunk. Main fibres connecting the central cerebral regions. The tapetum. Fibres extending laterally into the temporal lobe. I'll say that word again. Tapetum. Key characteristics and functions. We'll start with structure. Primarily composed of myelinated axons, white matter tracts that cross the midline. Origin primarily arises from neurons in the neocortical layers 2, 3, 5 and 6. Function ensures synchronised cognitive, motor and sensory functions between hemispheres. Development. Fibres begin crossing the midline at around 12 to 13 weeks of gestation. Gestation, or length of time in gestation. There's another word for it, but there's certain words you won't hear me talk on here. Yeah, right. What is gestation? It is the carrying of young in the uterus from conception to delivery. Right, so we all know words can be spells. You won't hear certain words come out of my mouth on here. Yeah, I'll give you an example. You're going to catch the bus and you're travelling on public thing. I'd rather say public vehicle rather than what might be written on the side of it. You understand? I'll give you another example. You want something picked up from here and taken to over there. I'd rather say something like, yo, pick up this from Yasso and take it over there, so. Remove this from there, so, and take it over Yasso. You get me? Only certain man would understand what I mean by that, yeah? Remove that from there, so, and take it over there. Remove it from Yasso and move it over there, so. I'd rather talk like that rather than saying them witchcraft funny word there. Man, don't talk like that. Move it from Yasso, take it over there, so. Now, if you're sitting over this side of the fence, you'll understand what I mean. Now, if you're sitting over the other side of the fence, I'll say it a bit clearer for you. Move it from here and take it over there. Now, reason being, yeah, I don't want certain words being pushed through my channel over and over again for people to listen to them on repeat. Certain things need eradicating. They ain't meant to be here. What you think or feel about that is what you think or feel about that. This is what I think and feel about it. Certain things ain't meant to be here. Certain things are wrong. So certain words, which you can associate with certain things, you won't hear come out of my mouth on here. Like it or not, I don't business. Yeah, that's how it is.
Hold up, sing that song again. Take me now, old man again, girl. Stiff the tin now, old man again, girl. You see your money now, old man again, girl. Grab up on a pum pum. And tell a girl say a good old a do it, girl a good old a do it. All me see the whole of them a real loud and see. Tell them a good old a do it, girl a good old a do it. All me see the. Take me now, old man again, girl. Stiff the tin now, old man again. Good old a do it, girl a good old a do it.
Clinical relevance. Disruption of these fibres occurs in ailments like multiple sclerosis or developmental disorders such as agenesis of the corpus callosum, which can lead to cognitive and visual deficits. Can the corpus callosum be seen on an MRI? Thanks to the unceasing development of medical imaging equipment, scientists can now use the advantages of MRI, which are high spatial resolution, multi-plane reconstruction, and harmless, to study the structure and size of corpus callosum. How is the corpus callosum related to autism? Roughly 1/3 of individuals born without this brain structure, a condition known as agenesis of the corpus callosum, meet the diagnostic criteria for autism. Some studies suggest that autism affects the myelin sheath in the corpus callosum, but others have found no such results after doing research. See, that's another reason why you've got to double check the research or check out what somebody is telling you. It might not be correct. One research study says one thing and the other research studies say another. What vitamin repairs brain cells? The vitamins that support overall brain wellness include B vitamins, particularly B6, B12 and folate, as well as vitamin D and vitamin E. These nutrients contribute to cognitive function, memory and overall brain health. What to eat to regenerate brain cells? We'll start with salmon and other fatty fish. About 60% of your brain is made of fat, and omega-3 fatty acids make up part of that fat. So we've also got eggs, blueberries, leafy greens and vegetables. A wide range of different nuts, because as you know, there's a variety, isn't there? Coffee, dark chocolate, olive oil. What is the fastest way to rewire your brain? You can do this through mindfulness, neurobic exercises, movement, mindset shifts, and quality sleep. You can rewire your brain for growth and healing. The key to this is persistence. Every small step creates a new pathway. Every practice strengthens and makes room for change. What are 7 superfoods for depression? We've got leafy greens, blueberries, salmon, dark chocolate, bananas, walnuts, avocados. What is the best physical exercise for the brain? The best brain exercises for brain health include aerobic exercises like walking, jogging, swimming, and biking enhance blood flow, stimulate BDNF release, and support memory and executive function. BDNF release. This is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Here's the explanation. BDNF release is the activity-dependent secretion of a protein that acts as a fertilizer for the brain, promoting the survival, growth, and plasticity of neurons. This is released from the postsynaptic membranes during neuronal activity or exercise. It strengthens synaptic connections, long-term potentiation, and boosts cognitive function. Key aspects of BDNF release. We'll start with mechanism. Triggered by neuronal activity, depolarization, elevated calcium levels, and high frequency stimulation. Types. Occurs through somatic dendritic and axonal release. Somatic dendritic being from the cell body dendrites. You know, I keep throwing in these details for you. Or anything that I might miss out, that you spot yourself, do a little bit of research. Yeah, there's a little bit of work there for you. Get active. Every now and again, right, I'm not going to throw in a detour. And it's not because I don't want to do the work, because it's a quick thing to just quickly do a little bit of research. I've been doing it for weeks now, it's easy. But I might do it on purpose, just to stimulate your brain. Yeah? And this will be purely just to get you thinking. Because at certain times when I'm reading certain things, I'm seeing certain words that I've never seen before, or I'm not familiar with. And immediately my brain starts thinking, well, what is that? And I want you to do the same thing. If you pick up that kind of pattern of doing things, brain stimulation, thinking first, thinking about something, you'll be better off. Primary drivers. Aerobic exercise is the most effective natural method to boost BDNF production, alongside learning and intellectual stimulation. You see, there you go, like I just said. Learning and brain stimulation will boost BDNF release. Functions. Crucial for learning, memory, this being particularly in the hippocampus, and neural survival. Role in neurological ailments. In the lower levels of BDNF release, there is links to depression and neurodegenerative disorders. Its signaling is involved in the mechanism of antidepressants. Examples and stimuli. We'll start with exercise. Running and aerobic activity increase BDNF levels, enhancing memory and supporting neurogenesis. Neural activity, high frequency stimulation, glutamate release, and depolarization drive its release in the brain. Synaptic plasticity, it is released to strengthen synapse during learning. Synonyms and related terms: activity-dependent neurotrophin secretion, neuronal BDNF secretion, neurotrophic factor release, pro-BDNF and mature BDNF release. BDNF is often described as a crucial neurotrophin supporting neuronal plasticity and strengthening memory circuits. Explanation: synaptic plasticity. Synaptic plasticity is the ability of connections between neurons to strengthen or weaken over time in response to increased or decreased activity. This activity-dependent remodeling of synaptic strength is crucial for learning, memory formation, and brain development, allowing neural circuits to adapt based on experience. Key stimulators of BDNF release: physical exercise, both aerobic exercise being walking and running, and high intensity interval training significantly raise BDNF levels, with resistance training being especially effective. Key stimulators of BDNF release. We'll start with dietary factors and fasting. Intermittent fasting and caloric restriction stimulate BDNF production. Nutrient intake such as omega-3 fatty acids, curcumin from turmeric, and green tea, which contains EGCG. Also, dark chocolate support higher levels. Neural activity and neural communication. BDNF is released during neuronal activity. Processes such as long-term potentiation and high-frequency stimulation trigger its release. Quick explanation: long-term potentiation. Long-term potentiation is a persistent strengthening of synapses based on recent patterns of activity, considered a primary cellular mechanism for learning and memory. It increases synaptic efficacy, this being signal strength, for hours, days, or longer following high-frequency stimulation. Lifestyle and environment. Deep sleep. This is crucial for BDNF production and restoration. Environmental enrichment. Learning new skills, social interaction, and cognitive stimulation boost BDNF release. Sunlight. Exposure to sunlight helps regulate circadian rhythms and influences BDNF expression. We have a video on this channel about the circadian rhythm. Also, we got a video on turmeric. Go check them out. Biological compounds. Calcium influx, dopamine receptor D5 activation, and ketogenesis such as hydroxybutyrate are cellular level triggers. Common inhibitors. Chronic stress and high levels of cortisol can decrease BDNF expression. Check out the video on this channel on cortisol. It's informative. Go check it out. Now, before the video comes to an end, I thought I'd throw in an unscheduled detour. You know how it goes. Well, you should by now. More info means more learning. More learning equals a sharper cognitive brain function. Yeah, let's go. Activate those brain neurons. This detour is on the psychology of self-awareness, non-verbal communication, gestures and signals for higher learning and those with a high level IQ. Ignore this segment if this does not apply to you, or pass on to the correct people in your life. I say that, but this level of psychology cannot be ignored. The bar has been raised. Don't get left behind. I'm trying to give you what you need to win. The top is boring when you're up here on your own. Join the real 18 while there's room. Do you remember that show, The 18? No, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about Mr. T and his crew. You know, B.A. Baracus. These men are ready yet. If they were, they'd still be about, wouldn't they? I'm going to wind up the whole place. Watch the play. Watch how this thing plays out. Yeah? Right, so let's get on with it. The psychology of self-awareness, gestures, signals, and non-verbal communication. Most people believe intimidation is about size, muscles, or loudness. They're mistaken. Experienced people understand that real fear is triggered by micro-signals, subtle physical cues that switch the brain into threat mode long before any physical action occurs. The initial signal, this being animalistic or aggressive eye contact. It's not about darting glances or a wild stare. It's about locking eyes calmly, as if you're observing and analysing what someone's intentions might be. This projects absolute control, or what looks like control, and control is inherently intimidating, but at this point, all could still be an illusion. The second signal, stillness under pressure. You'll see amateurs or unseasoned people fidget under pressure, blink quickly, and shift their weight nervously. Try not to do this. It's noticeable, fairly easy. Trained or experienced people become completely still, coiled like a loaded spring, ready to respond accordingly. That profound silence communicates to an aggressor, I am ready, and I have nothing to prove. But I also see that you do have a point to prove. The subconscious mind reads this calm as pure, steadfast confidence and readiness. There's no time to get ready. You must be ready. The third signal. This is forward pressure without aggression. An aggressor will subtly invade your personal space, taking a half step closer, squaring their shoulders and tucking their chin. This isn't a physical move, but the primitive part of your brain shouts, this person will not back down. Most conflicts are won right there, as people freeze cognitively before the action even starts physically. Many think inspiring fear is about flexing dominance, loud posturing, or appearing larger. But the experienced people know the truth. The most intimidating presence is quiet, refined, situationally aware, and prepared at all times, ready to go and completely unshakable. One approach is just noise. On the other hand, the next approach is genuine power. So you got to think to yourself, which one of these are you projecting? Try to learn more about the psychology of presence, non-verbal communication, self-awareness, gestures and signals. It may become useful at some point in your life. Move like the main guy in your story. Unwavered strength in your energy and presence. Rhythm in your step at all times. Sharp enough to make people pause, have a look, take a second glance and realise real quickly this one may be too strong. Let's keep it moving. Try to be fluid enough in your movements that they can't read you. You need to be so on point it feels unfair. Stop carrying yourself like the masses. You're not meant for that. You're not one of the sheep. Be yourself at all times. You're an individual, not a replica or a clone. I say that, but are you one of those? Let me tell you, I see plenty of those outside. So, In summary for this video, we'll go over the main points for the corpus callosum. This should freshen up the memory of past segments throughout the video. These will give you a good understanding of this particular area of the brain's limbic system, so you know what to look for with signs and signals. The corpus callosum is the largest white matter structure in the brain, consisting of a thick bundle of over 200 million nerve fibres, axons, connecting the left and right cerebral hemispheres. Located in the centre of the brain, it facilitates inter-hemispheric communication, coordinating sensory, motor and cognitive functions. Key aspects of the corpus callosum: location and structure. Situated between the two hemispheres, it is a C-shaped band divided into 4 parts, these being the rostrum, the genu, body and splenium. Functions. It allows for the sending of information, essential for language processing, memory and coordinating movements on both sides of the body. Usage and role examples. Coordinating movement. Enables the smooth, synchronised movement of both hands while playing a musical instrument or typing. Visual integration. Merges visual information from both eyes to create a single unified image. Cognitive processing. Facilitates problem solving by linking language centres, this usually being on the left side, and then spatial awareness usually being on the right side. Do you need a corpus callosum? Agenesis of the corpus callosum is a condition in which the structure is either partially or completely missing. What happens when your corpus callosum is missing? When this bridge is missing or incomplete, it can lead to a range of signs or signals, from mild learning difficulties to more significant developmental delays and seizures. It's estimated that 30 to 45% of individuals without a corpus callosum have an underlying genetic cause for their condition. Can you repair a damaged corpus callosum? While damage to the corpus callosum is rare, it can cause a variety of signs or signals that may affect cognitive, emotional and/or physical abilities. Can you repair a damaged corpus callosum? With the help of rehabilitative treatment sessions, individuals may be able to overcome the effects of corpus callosum damage and regain function. How to test your corpus callosum? There is a clear correlation between the thickness of the corpus callosum and the slowness in clapping hands. Clapping can be used as a new bedside test to determine the competency of the corpus callosum. How is the corpus callosum related to autism? Roughly 1/3 of individuals born without this brain structure, a condition known as agenesis of the corpus callosum, meet the diagnostic criteria for autism. Some studies suggest that autism affects the myelin sheath in the corpus callosum, but others have found no such results after doing research. What is the fastest way to rewire your brain? You can do this through mindfulness, neurobic exercises, movement, mindset shifts, and quality sleep. You can rewire your brain for growth and healing. The key to this is persistence. Every small step creates a new pathway. Every practice strengthens and makes room for change. What is the best physical exercise for the brain? The best brain exercises for brain health include aerobic exercises like walking, jogging, swimming, and biking, enhance blood flow, stimulate BDNF release, and support memory and executive function. BDNF release, this is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF release is the activity-dependent secretion of a protein that acts as a fertilizer for the brain, promoting the survival, growth, and plasticity of neurons. This is released from the postsynaptic membranes during neuronal activity or exercise. It strengthens synaptic connections, long-term potentiation, and boosts cognitive function. Key stimulators of BDNF release: physical exercise, both aerobic exercise being walking and running, and high intensity interval training significantly raise BDNF levels, with resistance training being especially effective. Now you know and understand how the corpus callosum plays a crucial role in brain function. It's vital that you take care of this area of the brain, which sits alongside a few other parts making up the limbic system. Stay alert, be aware, stay sharp. Happy navigation. Good luck.